someone uses the R word, trying to identify someone, because we don't use that. It's just so derogatory. I mean, I know it was back in the time.
Yeah.
But I said, you know, my passion for my Down syndrome kids, my students there that I taught were just amazing. You take them out to the track for Special Olympics.
Yeah.
I said, when they run, well, 100-yard dash, but really 40, but you're cheering them on. When they cross that line, it's like,
They're so happy.
and you're cheering them on. They give
Yeah.
you a big hug, and it's like, you know, a lot of that stuff's gone now. You know, I think people forget
Yeah.
the self-fulfillment of working with others, no matter if they have a disability or not, but just being able to get something accomplished, how appreciative they are in families. Patrick and I, he worked for me at Valley through his stress, and we also ended up doing all the crisis debriefings.
Oh,
We got
okay.
trained. So what I tell people, if you've never been into a school or across from a family whose child just completed suicide, you have no idea the impact that it has on us
Yeah.
doing that debrief, because there's no one to debrief us. And you
Yeah.
got kids, you go home, you give your kids a hug and say, and you educate them on, if you ever get to this point, please come with your friends. But we sat through so many different ones, and I did the Todd May one, I did the stabbing up at the Walmart, and wow. And I saw people during Todd's that you always knew as strong individuals who just emotionally, broke down. Because that's the impact Todd had, but that's the impact the crowd had. Because when we get people that come in and maybe disgruntled, it's not that.
Yeah. Oh, what? For a phone line? Oh, let me see.
Yeah, most people
Oh, no.
There's no way I could.
Or you're just an hour early. I mean, there's that, so.
Hey, you know what you say? You want a good seat.
Yeah. Traffic is just terrible.
Yeah, I'm telling you what, coming back today for a week eat.
I can't believe you came that way. I'm surprised.
So I went to wash.
Yeah.
I figured I'd get the car washed.
I normally just go.
Well, I normally just make a left and go back down through Westover.
Well, last time I went down through Westover, it was
Yeah.
pretty bad. They were working on the road, and I got behind some heavy load that was going like 5 miles an hour. Marshawn Lynch said Russell Westbrook used to meet people. Set up calls through his business manager.
Still no sugar.
Couldn't find any in the building?
Nope.
What kind you want?
What kind you have?
See what
What
we
we
got.
have? Do we have?
I don't know. I'll have to go look and see what we have.
You have that kitchenette, keys to the kitchenette?
We got
No,
upstairs.
I've got an office upstairs though.
Oh,
So
I don't care any kind.
we go see what I can find.
See?
We
As long
go
as
see what I can
it's
find.
As long as it's sweet.
I'll
As
be
long
right
as it's
back.
sweet, Pat.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll see what I can find.
Okay, they'd have coffee and creamer, but no sugar.
Sugar free. It's a sugar-free floor.
Is that what it is? Well, you got that right. Yeah, they're sugar-free floor.
Mark, do you know Ricky?
I do not.
Ricky Yeager, this is Mark Music.
Oh, Ricky Yeager with Development Services.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, I work with Marvin and
Okay.
all the, yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, great.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Yeah, we've got our M Magic.
In magic, I know.
We have to be creative because you know what? It's just a good way to get together.
Yeah, absolutely. You
When
gotta get a
it's-
little jingle to it.
Well, you know, it always came down to the point when I came to office was everybody's buying data. And I'm not getting on my data, so they don't give it theirs, nobody does.
Right.
And I'm like, we're all working for the same cause, and the same people, right?
Right.
So what they have, we need, and vice versa. So Mike and I have just been really good
Awesome.
at pushing all this, and I'm glad it all went through. Because
Yes.
it's not where some these guys are now making decisions on all this. One thing we're making a decision on is what data do you need over here, what are you guys getting?
Right.
The sewer lines over here, from Rod needs that, we need this.
It makes total sense. Yeah, yeah.
And we're hoping to bring Mecca on, so.
Not yet. They will be.
Right.
Okay, that's good.
How are you?
Good, how about you?
Doing all right.
Chief,
How's the young
good
one?
evening.
He's doing all right.
Is he?
He's working at the airport.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, 'cause I remember I got the thing, so I didn't know if he.
Yeah, he got working there about a month ago. He seems to like it. And trying to figure out things now. He's dabbling, trying to figure out whether or not he wants it to go for his pilot's license and things like that. So, and you know, he's just finding himself.
Yeah,
So you can fly mom and dad around.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's,
And just finding himself is the key, so. I said, you know, I'm still don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
you know what?
Yeah,
you
me
took the-
too.
You took the words out of my mouth, I was
When
gonna
I
say,
get
I'm
bigger and
60 and I'm
taller.
still trying to figure it out.
And,
That's right.
I said, you know, and I said, I have a forestry degree and I've worked in insurance for over 20 years. You know, so,
Yeah,
Oh, gosh.
yeah, but yeah, Marvin does that too, I'm good too.
Good. Is it Tara or
Yeah,
Teresa
Tara.
from
Muff, yeah. Yeah, she's a big. Cause you know, once you
Huh?
present
Oh, yeah.
to the boards, and all
Sure.
the companies, it wasn't like the cream. Here's the building of collaboration amongst the boards, right?
Corey.
This is building a committee, that's all it is.
Yeah.
Oh, God bless.
Understanding what we're trying to say.
All right, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
I knew I should be able to scrape
My
something
board
up.
meets every 4 years.
So
I
you,
can't believe that cream and the sugar.
Oh, well,
right, yeah,
I mean, I drink my coffee black, so a lot of times I don't think about that. And like today, I offered somebody a cup of coffee, and I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I can get a cup of black, a couple of times, I just never,
Other counties are like,
and that was something in my old job, when I used to have to, you know, I used to offer people coffee all the time.
Uh-huh.
I finally had to get it in the habit of, I've gotta have some creamer and some sugar around.
instead of
Right.
charging you.
and you,
Yes.
exactly, let's call it. Yeah.
And now, and what we do is we share our over there, so
Huge, yeah, yeah.
we just charge, how many?
Yep.
So it's not costing the city a whole lot. It's costing them. We can say with Mike and I, we can say 2 or 3 out of our budget.
Sure. And likewise, we want it more often, so it works.
And for this county, we need it. We need it.
Yes.
What I
100%.
Yeah, if we do it right here, it's fine.
No, absolutely.
But we just got, with Mike on a presentation to the board for Tyler County,
Okay.
and I called him, and, we wanted to show him the whole parcel view, especially the,
Right.
they used it a lot, there were some things they didn't know. So we
Hey,
put
how
them
are
in
you?
the flood. They wanna know the flood.
Brian,
They
your
were
coffee.
Amazed with that.
Okay, is
and I'm like,
anyone allowed to have it?
cause when we go
Yes.
into our floor every year,
I would greatly
first place
appreciate
we
that
go.
coffee.
But they don't have any
I
sugar.
will make you, he drinks his black. Are you
Okay.
kidding?
You gotta have it here.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just want to forewarn you, because I fixed a hot tea, no sugar.
Hey, how are you doing? Oh, you know, I'm here.
Buying out my ranch.
I'm sorry.
Just-
I know there's a lot of disappointed
something.
You don't have to go all the way to
You're not being taxed.
Pleasant Valley for handguns.
Yeah, I know.
Mm-hmm.
Or join the MPD, I guess.
Yeah, you can do that. We're hiring.
I cannot.
We're hiring.
Well, you could, are you 40 or good? If you're not,
Yeah, we're always
you're
hiring.
good.
Monitor, so.
They'll even coach you through
I
what
am
you need to do.
I am
to
a
get shape.
veteran, I'm sure.
Hey,
Oh, that's veteran points, you're right in, buddy.
We'll get rid of that extra stuff there.
I already got the drug task force
Yeah,
gear.
there you go.
Or half the department come November.
Right. November, and all look like that.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I had to come up.
Well,
to
you
your
got,
office to-
what, Blonde Airs, Ball, and Runyon retiring, right?
You a great team.
Yeah.
They,
Yep.
you know what they've done,
Now,
they've bought in.
If Troy's allowed to, I don't know if he's allowed to yet.
Some have been
are
there
all of them
since
eligible to collect?
Some have been there,
Just Runyon?
anyone that's.
No,
No,
Troy
Troy
is.
Troy is?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
But the last I talked, he had to have another game plan before it was allowed.
Mississippi Street, Coven Creek.
Oh, did you really?
Well, there goes, Eric, there goes dipping into my pension again, which I'm not very happy with.
Yeah.
Says we're losing, close to 200,000.
Yeah.
Maybe everybody's losing money right now. I mean, I'm putting money in and everything's going down,
It
so,
just
you know.
disappears.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're losing money because there are 20-some officers down,
That's good.
plus the market. Okay? We're losing almost 200,000 by being 20-some officers down. That's what I'm worried about.
Well, you don't want the alternative, I'm telling you that.
This is a.
He said, how'd you do it?
Yeah. You.
Yeah. Well, guess what? I get the first Social Security check this month,
Oh, do you?
$320.
Yeah. I think mine will amount to about $100. That's all set.
Well, did you have other jobs before this?
Yeah.
Well, until he was 28? Yeah.
Well, I didn't pay in the pension this year.
Oh, yeah, but you wasn't mentioned that you paid Social Security. Yes. Yeah. Oh, really?
Not insurance.
So every time I go into the office or go.
Oh, you catch it, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, I think
And I always make sure that
Yeah.
anytime I get something.
I have enough work in to make about it's like $300 or something.
Well, it's going up.
Sure.
Oh, next year, 8%. Rick?
Okay.
How you doing?
Rick, that is golf money,
Yeah, I work
concert money,
for 10 years.
Hi, John.
Rick's money, and travel.
That's a lot of stuff.
How are you?
Pleasure to
You
meet
just can't do it all the same.
Oh, no, not the same month. No,
Yeah.
I can't. That won't cover it all the same month. I gotta spread it out.
Right. Just go to a concert every other month.
Exactly.
It has like the same seating capacity.
It does.
What are you doing here, Ricky?
Yeah.
Rick, what are you doing? You have a proclamation? Are you reading it?
Well, I hope not.
Receiving it.
John got that, they were just
Supposed
on.
to be just getting it.
Oh, you're really important.
Yeah. Is this the same one as you
Yeah, final reading.
Yes. How you doing? I think it's, I didn't get the check when your team showed up,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
Willie, I thought it was just.
my first one was the second.
Okay, hey, the city council meeting's at 7.
Because I would say Christine could
It's
answer.
like sticker on this,
Okay.
can't see how much weight.
Public comment for the second reading.
That's good.
For the,
Okay, all
well,
right. All right.
this one, there's an ordinance for this one, so it's first reading for the ordinance.
No.
Are we talking about the same thing?
For his, no, no,
It's
no.
old business, second.
His old business, second reading.
For your first reading of the response, or for the first response training center?
Yeah, that was last council.
This is the second reading.
We had to do an ordinance for it.
I knew we had.
There was no ordinance.
Things
Last time it was just the lease and the bill of sale and promissory note and one other thing. So, we had to do an ordinance this time, so it's first reading for the for an ordinance.
It's under old business.
So it's still under old business though.
Okay. Well, if he's asking, would I get a comment? Public comment after this.
Yep.
Will folks get to talk?
That's what I'm asking.
Oh,
No, for the first reading.
Not the first reading, then if it's gonna be a first reading on the ordinance.
mm-mm. But, I mean, you can talk on
You can
public.
talk during the public session.
Yeah, they did talk about it last time, but there was not an ordinance last time.
You could talk up here during the public.
Public portion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you'll have, you wanna talk about that?
The 169 amendment is not in the packet online.
Is it utility board?
Yeah, do you have a hard copy?
No, I don't have a hard copy.
Okay, are they gonna have a hard copy I can get?
whether,
They don't have one either. It's the same one that we had last time.
Okay, so it's, oh, so they might like just amend it
So
on the
they-
fly with their words.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
not really sure what they're gonna do.
Cool, because I was like waiting all day for
Yep,
that
I'm
email.
sorry.
No, it's all right. Not your
Yeah.
fault. I appreciate it. Thank you. I like the pink blazer, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Can I be added to the list to speak during the public part?
Oh, sure. All you have to do is stick, put your name down right here.
but are you still gonna do like elements outside of firearms training, like in the elements?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
the Morgantown City Council regular meeting. We're in the Mon County Commission Chambers, 243 High Street. It's Tuesday, October 18th, and it is just about 7:30 p.m. And we're calling this meeting to order and asking the clerk if she'll please call the roll.
Yes, Joe Buganim,
Present.
Bill Kowecki,
Here.
Ixia Vega,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Trumbull,
Here.
Dave Harshbarger,
Here.
Brian Butcher,
Here.
Mayor Sleen.
Here. And now we're going to stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on our agenda is approval of the minutes. The minutes that we have available are October 4th, 2022 special meeting minutes. Have
I
people
have,
had a chance to review them?
Yeah, I have an edit to the minutes. I was only at the special meeting for 5 minutes when it ended, so I was not at the special meeting.
All right. So with that small correction, everybody approve?
Yep.
Yep, all right, the stand is written otherwise. And then we're gonna go on to correspondence. The next set of meeting minutes is gonna be placed on the next regular meeting agenda. Correspondence, the Extra Mile Day proclamation, the clerk's office is going to mail that to them. But we are going to, we're gonna read that, or we're just gonna mail it to them?
You want to read it?
Is that, do we have that there? Pardon? But I mean, there's nobody here to receive
No,
it.
no, there is not.
So then we
So
have a
you don't-
choice of whether to read it, or,
Whatever you like.
pardon? All right. We're gonna read it. I reserve the right to abridge a little bit as necessary. So this is a proclamation, whereas Morgantown, West Virginia is a community that acknowledges that a special vibrancy exists within the entire community when its individual citizens collectively go the extra mile. In personal effort, volunteerism, and service, whereas Morgantown, West Virginia is a community which encourages its citizens to maximize their personal contribution to the community by giving of themselves wholeheartedly and with total effort, commitment, and conviction to their individual ambitions, family, friends, and community, whereas Morgantown, West Virginia is a community which chooses to shine a light on and celebrate individuals and organizations within its community who go the extra mile in order to make, and I dare venture many people right here in this room are the type of people that go that extra mile, in order to make a difference and lift up fellow members of their community. And whereas Morgantown, West Virginia acknowledges the mission of the Extra Mile America to create 550 extra mile cities in America and is proud to support Extra Mile Day on November 1st, 2022. Now I, Jenny Celine, the mayor of the city of Morgantown, on behalf of City Council, do hereby proclaim the first day of November as Extra Mile Day. In the city of Morgantown, we encourage each individual in the community to take time on this day not only to go the extra mile in his or her own life, but also to acknowledge all those who are inspirational in their efforts and commitment to make their organizations, family, community, country, or world a better place. So there's not someone there to receive it because this is a national organization, but we certainly appreciate the thought. And if ever there was a place where there's a lot of volunteers, I would say this is the place. This is Community Planning Month, and I would love it if Ricky Yeager would come forward, our Director of Developmental Services. Or Development Services. Which is it?
Development services, we'll go with that.
Development.
We'll go with that.
That sounds, anyway, so, here we go. Is it better to face this way or face that way?
I don't, probably that way.
Which way?
Probably that, what the camera will get you.
Okay. Here we go. Whereas change is constant and affects all cities, towns, suburbs, counties, boroughs, townships, rural areas, and other places. Whereas community planning and plans can help manage this change in a way that provides better choices for how people work and live. Whereas community planning provides an opportunity for all residents to be meaningfully involved in making choices that determine the future of our community. And whereas the full benefits of planning require public officials and citizens who understand, support, and demand excellence in planning and plan implementation. And whereas the month of October is designated as National Community Planning Month throughout the United States of America and its territories. Whereas American Planning Association endorses National Community Planning Month as an opportunity to highlight how planning is essential to recovery and how planners can lead communities to equitable, resilient, and long-lasting recovery. And whereas the celebration of National Community Planning Month gives us the opportunity to publicly recognize the participation and dedication of the members of planning commissions and other citizen planners who have contributed their time and expertise to the improvement in the city of Morgantown, which we have many citizen planners in our community, and we would like to recognize each of them. Whereas, and those who work with and work to take in those contributions. Whereas we recognize the many valuable contributions made by professional, community, and regional planners of the city of Morgantown, those brave souls, and extend our heartfelt thanks for the continued commitment to public service by these professionals. Now therefore, I, Jenny Celine, the mayor of the city of Morgantown, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2022 as Community Planning Month in the city of Morgantown in conjunction with the celebration of National Planning Month.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Nice job. Here we go.
Hope we get it.
We'll do an
Okay.
official handoff.
All right. Thank you.
So anyway, hi everyone. This is super important. Do you want to take the mic? Do you have something that you'd like to say?
I think you covered, Mayor. Just want to thank the
Yes,
city
please.
managers and all of council for all your support on planning-related projects. I know they can take some time because it's a process-driven approach, but hopefully they will all bear fruit, and we'll be approaching community and economic development in a holistic manner. Also want to thank all the team in the office and development services. We work with a great group of people, and they try to provide the best level of service day in and day out, and it's a pleasure to serve with them. And last but not least, as the mayor kind of already alluded to in the proclamation, I'd also like to thank our volunteers and citizen planners that serve on various boards and commissions. Collectively, they spend hundreds of hours attending public meetings, reading staff reports, engaging in thoughtful discussion on matters that come before them. And that includes members of the Planning Commission, Board of Zoning Appeals, Land Reuse Agency, and so many more. And really, we couldn't do our work without their volunteer efforts in serving the community. So thank you all for all your support. Appreciate it.
So now we would love to ask Mark Music, the Monongalia County Assessor, to come speak about Amendment 2, and also Chief Deputy Patrick Tenney.
Thank you. Appreciate the time.
you coming. I kept wondering when we were going to have you
Well,
here.
I appreciate the invite.
I'm glad you're here.
And I'm not going to take up a lot of your time. Some of you guys are busy, and I do have a long agenda. And it's not like this is the first time you've heard about Amendment 2 or have seen Amendment 2, probably. Am I correct? From that standpoint?
No, this is not the first time we've heard about it or seen it.
What we wanted to do was we wanted to put the packets out in front of you there so you could have some of that information up front. And really what I wanted to go over is kind of what we're doing now. We're kind of shorten some of the presentations on Amendment 2 because it's out there so much. And of course, if you're following everything with the governor, he's pushing everything against Amendment 2 and going with the tax rebate on that too also. So one of the things that we look at is with Amendment 2 for the understanding what Amendment 2 is and what it does. So if Amendment 2 were to pass, what it does is it just gives current and future legislators the authority to review and look at exempting business personal property for the machinery, equipment, and inventory, along with personal property motor vehicles. Okay, so it doesn't exempt anything right away. If it does pass, it wouldn't surprise anybody if anything occurred, but you'd have to have two bodies together approving that. So basically, if it does pass, it just sits there for a while for them to come up with a plan for two bodies to agree upon. And at this point in time, some of the concerns we have based on this is giving up the authority to current and future legislatures, because we all know every 2 years we have 100 seats that come open, right? And every 4 years we have our Senate side, the 34, 36 seats that come open. So you're going to have a change. And we know in 2 years we're going to have a new governor. So how do all those new bodies coming in perceive Amendment 2 if it were to pass? What changes do they want to make? Is it based on, is there going to be enough money there? You know, that's the question. Is we have money now as being presented to backfill counties as a whole. When would that be implemented? How long? We've asked, will this be done in perpetuity? We can't get a response. We've asked to see a plan. We've yet to see a plan. So there's no consensus or agreement among two bodies in our state government with this at this point in time. It will probably take some time, in our eyes, based on all this information that's going there. So giving up that authority and that constitutional protection that we have as a county, as municipalities, as guaranteed money. We have a guaranteed revenue stream that comes in based on our personal property. You know, as a whole, as you can see, within your packet there, Patrick kind of broke down everything from the county perspective. If you look at the sheet here, the first packet, that gives everything as a breakdown for the municipalities on what it would be based on each of those categories of business inventory. Your machinery and equipment, your furnitures and fixtures, your leaseholds, your computers, and your vehicles. So it kind of gives you an idea. And I think we came up with, based on the 21 tax year for the city of Morgantown, would have lost $785,713. Okay, that's your tax dollars. That's based on the 21 tax year, which we just closed out. What we have been told through working with the Senate is they're going to backfill. They're going to backfill all the counties. Well, we're looking at up to 600 to maybe 800 million a year is what you'd have to come up with just in that one budget line item to backfill the counties. You may see 585 million to 600, which is numbers we've provided, but it doesn't include public utilities. So the public utilities are not included as part of that. Public utilities are, under the equalization clause, they're treated as a business entity, and those values are done by the state, not by us. But from what we've gathered is they would be probably stepping forward, requesting to be part of this exemption because they fall under the business entity law there, and they would be entitled to that. So we haven't incorporated those numbers, but what we've gotten from some of the people working with us on numbers would be roughly around maybe 150 million if they were to come in. So you think about it, 600 million, you add another 150, is 750 million that we're looking at from there. There may be other entities through federal stuff we don't know yet. There's a lot involved with Amendment 2 of coming down that we don't have all the answers to. You're going to hear so many different things at this point that's been coming out. One is the most recent, is that just the assessors will incentivize the vehicles by just increasing them more to help cover the cost. We don't do that. That's not in our jurisdiction. We don't value vehicles. There's 55 counties in the state of West Virginia that use the same program. Okay, it's the National Auto Dealers Association, NADA by short. We use the same book. We use the lowest value within that book based on that VIN number, then we take 60% of that. So we don't add value to the vehicles. Basically, we just enter the data that taxpayers give us out of their VIN number, and it calculates it through. That's been some of the stuff that's been going around. So you're going to hear so many different things. The thing is we're trying to stress is these numbers here, this is straight out of our county for everything there for the tax dollars in 21. It gives you an idea. There's another part within the packet. I think we put it in there, and it's the one, we have that one, Patrick? The one that the Senate had?
Yes, it looks like this.
It's just a single page. It's got, all right, Christina has it there. I want to touch base on that because if you're looking at that and you look at this, you're going to say, well, wait a minute, Mark, there's two different sets of numbers here. What we did was, and we provided the Senate with numbers in a 7-year trend. So we went back 7 years and worked on everything as an assessors group. They took the last 5 years and they took the highest of each of those categories. So they took the highest tax amount, like for machinery and equipment, and what they have here, they took the highest in that 5 years, which tax dollars were collected. They took the highest from furnitures and fixtures. So they've taken the highest and added it up. That's why Mon County now is at $30,834,000. So it was there. So they added $6 more million to it. All right, so they took the highest and added in there to say, well, we're going to cover all the additional costs that you may be losing. So now instead of just getting back money from 21, we're going to get back $6 million more. Still not knowing where all that money's going to come from. Plus, they've thrown in another $1 million for the jail bill to help cover the jail bill. And for the county, I think from the way the commission reported, it still left the county $500,000 short. So even another $1 million towards paying the jail bill still leaves the county $500,000 short. So that's why I wanted to give you this sheet, because it's for each county. It's the program that they've done in a booklet. So they've done each county, and they've just taken the highest of each of these categories, added them together, and said, now here's what we're going to reimburse you at. We're not going to reimburse you at what your taxes you lost for that tax year. We're going to give you more. So our question is, sure, but where's it going to come from? And we can't get that response. I don't know how many have been to other events or anything of that nature. I know some have come to when we had the work session with the commission and a few of the other ones. Nothing has changed on that end. This is the money that how they're proposing it is from that facet. So Amendment 2, basically, the only thing it does if it passes, you just give up your authority. Basically, at this point in time, you're just giving up your authority to current and future legislatures to determine whether or not if they're going to exempt anything. It may never get exempted. It may be down the road. But the other side to that is there's no plan to show us on where the money's going to come from and if it's going to be in perpetuity. So that's the thing we're trying to look at and we've been trying to get is a little bit of that answers, and of course we can't. So when we're out trying to educate people, we'll give them a little bit of an idea. When you go to the polls, which really starts next Wednesday because of early voting, so when you go, have an idea or research a little bit further on what these amendments are. So when you give up your authority, that's given up from 90 years. The authority's been to the taxpayers for 90 years, since 1932. So basically what we're doing is we're giving the authority back to state government from this aspect. As our association, we're not against people not paying their vehicle or anything like that, but where's that money going to come from? You know, the fallback is it get to the point where the money just goes to the commission, because that's been a discussion, then they divvy out the money. So from a council standpoint, and the commission doesn't want that. They don't want people have to come to them and say, okay, here's how much you get because we're short. You know, can the state keep up with this type of revenue and surplus over a period of time or in perpetuity? Ohio, I think they started theirs, and you'll see in the packet there, in 2005, I think it started to phase out. By 2015, they didn't have any more money to backfill. So they implemented, I think it's called their CAT tax. So it's a 1.5% they were able to add on to help make up the money that they lost. It's a good little information there on that data from that standpoint. And one other thing real quickly is people talk about the business personal property tax. And that West Virginia is one of a very few states that still have that tax, which kills the jobs coming in. So if anybody's picked up a newspaper or seen anything social media as a whole state of West Virginia since probably January of last year, I think we've gained a lot of large businesses, right, that have come in, especially large manufacturing businesses that have come into this state over that period of time. And as the governor has said, and as Secretary Hardy said, none of them are asking about this business personal property. They want to know about the workforce, the topography, the broadband, and the whole infrastructure setup. That's what they're looking at for coming in. Because West Virginia, as you'll find in there, in the 22 thing for the business climate, West Virginia was ranked 9th. It was one of the top business climates to come into. Our closest surrounding state was Ohio. The other ones that they all claim are taking all of our businesses away from us weren't even in that top 10. So we're ranked 9th in the top 10 of that. And you know where we're at with our real estate for our property tax. I think we're 7th or 8th in the United States is the lowest that we have that. So sometimes you wonder, where's that money going to come from? You know, eventually you gotta make up money that's lost in some way. And we are one of 10 states. Yes, we are one of 10 states that have the business personal property, machinery, equipment, and inventory, that we have all three. We are one. But there are 24 other states that still tax business personal property for machinery and equipment. So in reality, there's 34 states that still have this tax on. So we're not one of just a few and that's it. There's still 34 that still have this tax in place. So has it been a job killer in West Virginia? Well, we haven't seen any data that says it has from that standpoint.
Do you want to suspend the rules so you can ask questions if you have any? I don't know if anybody has questions. I have one question. Do you mind if I ask it?
No.
I'm wondering, it looks to me, just roughly looking at the charts that you've provided, that schools are one of the main, schools would be hurt the most.
Most definitely.
And I would say for business climate, when people are looking where to relocate, that I'm always a big fan of parks, but I think schools are one of the main drivers of whether somebody wants to come. Nobody wants to come to somewhere with underfunded schools.
About 68% would be lost to the schools, 68, 70%. So
It sounds pretty drastic
That's
for not having a plan for how to backfill, and even if we did, being able to backfill for a number of years in sequence. So
yeah, and it's a great point, because the levies too. You know, our parks. I know for where I live, when people move in, they love the fact that we have the parks and recs. We have everything in the trails. They love all that, and they love the idea that there are levies that people support that in these communities. Those are affected also, as you'll find in the packet there too. As you read through the packet and you come up with questions, please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I can answer them at that time. If I'm out, Patrick can also answer any of those questions too. So we want to be available to you for that. But it's just, the point is, if you really look at it from a standpoint of what you're voting on is giving up the authority for current and future legislatures to look to exempting those taxes. That's what you're doing initially, is just giving up that authority. Then it goes back into those two bodies to try to create a plan to come up with, then the governor signs it. So that's the thing there. But just wanted to educate on a few of those aspects on what it is, and not as much current, but let's look at the impact in the future that it could have for one of the most prosperous counties in the state, and for any county, really. We have 38 counties that are maxed out on their levy. So what happens with those counties if this passes and they don't have any other growth? Is that money still going to be coming in? If Mon County continues to grow, are we going to pick up that additional growth money from the state? Are they going to add that in when they start backfilling? Or is this $6 million going to be their point of saying, well, you have it already? But we'll continue to grow. We have our TIFs. There's another whole issue right there with TIFs and the bonds. So there's so many unanswered questions. You may get answers, but it may not be what you want to hear from that end, because it's always in the fact of, we'll take care of it. You know, and that's why you're getting this. We haven't seen a plan. We were told we were going to see a plan, and I think we are in week 8 that we haven't seen it. So that's been our issue, and that's been just a short blurb of this right here, but just making sure that giving up the authority, then we lose the constitutional protection of guaranteed revenue is what we lose as a county as a whole. So a lot of things get eventually cut. So,
Yep.
Mayor? if I may.
Yes.
So you don't have an answer on how TIFs or bonds might be affected by this?
Well, we're trying to get those answers because of that 30-year thing. I know it's difficult to try to when you're looking at applying for your bonds, when the bonds are coming and looking at those studies, it's hard to project out in the future if you don't know what your revenue is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
For right now, basically, commissions can look at it from a standpoint of and have a general idea on what percentage of the growth is in the counties because they have that history, what it can be, so they can actually project a little better with that. With this, you know, what do you know? If it's, and I think the bond agencies too will start looking at that saying, hey, what do you guys have here? How much of an impact is this going to be? Can we afford this? My opinion, okay, from that. But that's how I'm trying to see that right now. My only answer I got when I asked about bonds was they'll be taken care of. So, you know, how that will be done, I don't know. But that's usually short answers from that, but not a long thing. And, you know, we have Mountaintop Beverage that's just going in over the hill there in the industrial park. And I can tell you after taking a tour and talking to them, they didn't really ask about this inventory tax or the machinery and equipment. They want to know if they can be in the TIF, that was, and the land and stuff being taken care of. So that's 313,000 square feet with a great deal of room to expand another maybe 70 to 100,000 square feet. So businesses are coming. Just pick up the paper. There's a lot in this state that's happening, and the state can do other deals because they're able to with some of these businesses coming in. And that's wonderful because it's not our money. It's state money. And that's why the governor's pushing the rebate, because that's coming out of the state general coffer, and the counties get to keep their money. So I have to give him credit for that, at least from that end looking out. So, any other questions? I think my time's up.
I think we're good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you for
Thank you, Mark.
providing the data to back it up. City Clerk, do you want to describe this, is this the time to do the mayor
If you would like.
letters? Or is there another time? This seems like the time. Would you tell a little bit about where they came from?
Oh, sure.
You did the setup.
Yeah. So we worked with Eastwood Elementary, and we had, I can't remember her last name, one of the teachers. She worked with the classrooms and asked the students if they would like to share some thoughts about what they would do if they were the mayor for a day. And so I'm not sure how these 5, I think you received 5, were selected, but we did receive 5 from Eastwood, and they're all typed out, which is something different.
Yeah, usually.
They're typed out, and they're in paragraph form, and you can tell that they use it as a learning activity. But anyway, it's kind of nice. We did receive 5 from Eastwood, and pretty interesting to see how they responded about what they would do if they were the mayor for the day.
All right. Could you pass that one down to Joe? And maybe you could do one. And somebody else down there can take one. And I think that would be a good one for you. All right. So, why don't we start with the letter that Brian Butcher's reading?
This is good. This is from Liam I, so this is not me speaking, but Liam I, the 5th grader. If I were mayor, this is what I would do. I would add an amusement park to Morgantown. Then I would add an outdoor trampoline park. Also, I would add a water park with 20 miles of water slides. I can get on board. The malls would be bigger and have more arcades with more games and more bungee jump. My personal favorite upgrade would be a giant plastic chess set inside of the amusement park.
Those are fun.
Also, I would add better parks with more playground equipment. Then I would add bigger pools that have diving boards and slides. This would benefit the kids of Morgantown. Great. He's got some good
Hey,
ideas.
big
3 new
ideas.
playgrounds coming
Yeah.
right now, actually.
Mason Monso, also a 5th grader, wrote, "If I were mayor, I would donate money to charities in Morgantown and make malls have more shops and more activities for the kids. I would add better play equipment, like stuff like monkey bars and obstacle courses. We need better lunches for the schools, like good quesadillas and cars with solar panels on top of the cars so we don't pollute the air as much. All these ideas, when they come together, will benefit the city in many different ways."
Nice.
All right, this one's from Jackson Matthews in the 5th grade. "If I was mayor, I would create a subway like New York." A big thinker. "So we wouldn't burn as many fossil fuels as we do when we drive a car, or make faster and cheaper electric bikes so we could ride on those and build up a sweat. More amusement parks so West Virginia would be more fun. More view places on the mountains and a place where you can eat there in case you're hungry. It would create more jobs for people like running the trains and building the bikes or even building the amusement parks. I think they should be bigger than Kennywood." I like that. That is what I would do if I were mayor.
From Luke White, "If I were mayor of Morgantown, I would make a teleportation machine. It can teleport you anywhere. How it works: there is a screen with all the states. You click on a state. Then you click where you want to go in the state. Once you do, it will teleport you there. I would also make an amusement park with a water zone. It would have the world's tallest water slide. It would have a fast roller coaster. It would have a kid section. It would have an adult section with lots of roller coasters. That's what I would do if I were mayor of Morgantown."
All right. I also would like to be able to teleport.
I stand with this. Get working, Jenny.
All right. Let's put
This
that
one
together.
is from Lexi Banyak, 5th grade. "If I were mayor, I would make better parks." You should have read this one. "I would make better parks, adjust the dress code, and more. I would make middle school a little less rough because my cousin goes there. I would also add more play equipment to the schools. And for elementary school, I would have tag every day. I want to make the roads wider. I would add amusement parks like Six Flags and Great Wolf Lodge. I would add a lazy river, a giant hot tub, and a kiddie pool to a water park. I would add more stores to the malls like Billabong, Sheen, Urban Outfitters, and another arcade. I would put more Starbucks and boba shops around. I would put another Tzatziki's because I love their gyros. I love Sheen's clothing. Urban Outfitters would be just perfect, and Billabong is really popular now. I would add a designer section to the mall that has Burberry, Gucci, Lululemon, Prada, Dolce & Gabbana, Dwar, and a few others. I would add 2 more Starbucks, one downtown and one in the mall. I love getting an iced white mocha with salted caramel and cold foam and 2 pumps of toffee nut syrup. I would do all of that to the city of Morgantown if I were mayor. That is a very specific Starbucks beverage.
I would have her know that I have reached out to Urban Outfitters to no avail.
That's a lot of product placement. I hope she got paid for that.
Yeah, I also hope as the one reading it, I get some sort of payment.
We're playing it live.
That's right. There we go.
That's right.
Live TV. That's what happens.
Thank you, Christine.
I think we all needed that today.
Yeah.
I think that's good for the whole community. Just
Very
just
cute.
knowing that there are kids with these large thoughts.
Some tough critics out there.
I know. But they're ready for action, which
I
is
just
great.
feel like amusement parks seems to
Yeah.
be the common theme here.
Mhm.
Give the people what they want.
We'll get
So-
Boat Park on it.
Yeah. Well, I think we should
Boat Park.
I think we should send it to Boat Park. We do not have any yet. Thank you, Christine Wade, our clerk, for setting that up because that was very fun as part of our municipal government week. we do not have any public hearings at this point. We have some unfinished business. Consideration of approval of a first reading of an ordinance authorizing a bill of sale, lease, promissory note, and security agreement for First Responder Training Center. So, the city.
Can I
Yes.
ask a procedural question on this?
Yes.
If this is second reading, should we not have had a public hearing on this? No?
Public hearings are required for, we generally do have public hearings on second reading of ordinances, but they're required for ordinances, for the purpose of raising funds and fees for the city by state law.
It's first reading though, correct? Because we didn't have an ordinance last time, correct?
Oh, no, this is the second reading of the
Oh,
ordinance.
and this says first reading, so.
This is under unfinished business because it is a second reading. And it may say first reading, but we've already had and passed a first reading. So I would say that this is a second reading because it's under unfinished business and it already was passed through first reading. Is that a correct analysis?
I think that's correct, and that the materials and ordinance were presented at your first October meeting. If council would like to consider the proposed ordinance tonight and take a vote on it, we can certainly work with the clerk to address any procedures that might be required, and if you would need or want to hold a public hearing or hold another vote to confirm any action taken, we can ensure you do that at your next meeting.
Would you all like to have, if this were to pass this evening, to have another,
I mean, we did already pass it once, though. There was
that's,
so this would be
I'm more
the
like,
second and
if we've already
final.
done it once and this is our second and final reading, that's how I would treat it, but
I would,
if there's anyone that has any doubts, please feel free to.
I think of all of our recent issues, this is the one that I have personally heard the most about from
Mhm.
concerned constituents. And I would have preferred to hold a public hearing, but I am one of 7, so if it's not required, then
We could have. We could have I guess it doesn't have anything under public hearings except for this item is directly under public hearings.
Council,
Can we change the order of the agenda and have it underneath the public portion so that if someone does have a comment before we vote, that would be allowed?
Well, Mayor, you could suspend your rules and allow public comment if you would like. If your intention is to notice and hold a public hearing, council could approve the ordinance and order the holding of a third reading on its November 1st meeting after a public hearing.
Okay, so we could have a vote on this evening and then have a third vote?
Yes, Mayor.
All right.
Question?
Yes.
Would that delay the transaction in such a way to negatively impact it with the leaseor?
I'm not certain if it would. I don't know the answer to that. Chief Powell is here and has been working directly with the property owner, and if he'd like to address those questions or counsel, you could ask him to do so.
At this point, this is up. This would be a second reading because we've already had a first reading, and if we would have, let's see. I think we would start with a motion, and then we would have our. Actually, why don't we have our manager speak, and we can have a motion, and then if we would like to bring up our chief to be able to address any time considerations. So first we're going to start with our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. This particular proposal would deal with the purchase of certain assets related to the facility, as well as leasing of some significant space at the current Defense and Depth facility in Saberton. Certainly Chief Powell and administration's been working hard with the developers over, close to over a year, trying to make something come to fruition here. And we're at a point where we have, certainly council is considering a proposal in which this would establish a state-of-the-art training facility for our first responders, provide the opportunity for range training, night training, something we do not have access to, and indoor, that is, and other essential support for emergency services personnel. It would allow for the rental of approximately 20,000 square feet indoors, and it would have the capacity of continuing to provide public access for such training as concealed weapons and other types of things that we feel are important for not only the community but policing in general, and public safety. So it's our recommendation council consider this particular proposal. Thank you.
All right. As a basis of the discussion to follow, is there anyone willing to make a motion for discussion purposes, and then we can decide?
I make a motion to move this forward.
Second.
All right. And then if, for time considerations and other considerations, if Chief Powell would like to come forth and talk about this. I wanted to make note that we had a wonderful tour that City Council was invited to that had members of our police force and chief and members of our fire department and chief. It was very nice.
Yeah, thanks for coming. And I didn't want to go rehash all the stuff I did from the first time I made my presentation. But I did kind of want to sort of go over some things that I might not have addressed during my first presentation. I think there's sometimes a misconception within the community as a whole on how these things come about happening. And I've been hearing rumblings here and there from just acquaintances of mine, and it seems like there's this perception that the city has come in and taken over this facility that's beloved by the community.
People love.
And I just want to make sure it's understood publicly that that is in no way how this came about happening. This was a project that was I was approached and asked by the owner of this facility if we were interested in it. That owner having knowledge of our desire to build our own facility and realizing that he had something that he could offer that matched what we were seeking. So it's not, I didn't want the public to think that this is the city bullying people into making a deal. It is far from it, completely opposite from it, in fact. And it's taken, like City Manager Haas says, over a year now to try to make it work. And so there's been a lot of time and effort put into figuring out just how this was going to take place, with the idea in mind that it would have it would continue to have a positive impact on the community as a whole in whatever way we could make that happen reasonably, okay? Obviously, we are not selling guns here anymore, okay? If this was to go through, this isn't a gun store anymore. But that being said, we still believe that we can grant access just based on models that are taking place around the country. In fact, I mentioned to a gentleman earlier, my model that I'm basing how this is going to operate is based on one that's been functioning for the last 5 years in Fresno. It's the exact same model that I'm using on a smaller scale, but with the same kind of operational procedural things in place, which allows for private contracts and things to happen where we can allow at least a degree of public use controlled and very controlled. And so that aspect of it at least is our attempt to continue the kind of positive impact that the facility is going to have within the community and maintain a relationship and establish a relationship, actually. You know, was this something that we had to have? No. But is it something that will benefit the community and the police department and all first responders in the area, in the region? Absolutely it will. It'll have a positive impact on a lot of levels. And I just want to reiterate that that's the driving factor behind it. The idea here is improving the training that first responders receive in this area, maintaining that level of excellence that's existed here, and even maybe stepping it up even further, and just providing them with the kind of facility that they deserve and that they will gain a lot from having, and that's what it's all about. And that's all it's been about from the beginning, and that's pretty much all I wanted to convey today, because I know that's sort of something that's been on the minds, I think, of some people. And you know, when you're coming from it from the perspective that I was, you kind of get tunnel vision and you only see things from your, you know, I came up here last time and I said, I don't see anything negative about this, you know. And then I realized and took a step back and had a moment. I'm like, well, I can see where the people that are utilizing it now probably don't think this is such a great idea. And I understand that. But we're going to do our best and work hard to try to maintain that kind of community connection as best that we can, given the kind of limitations that we're going to be having within our own structure. And that's it. Does anyone have any questions?
Have you spoken with the owner about the timeline that he needs to operate on?
The timeline he gave me initially was by the end of the year. So, and that is based on inventory and tax purposes, solely. He would like to have his stuff out from under his taxes as soon as he possibly can. So that was his as far as the timeline for getting everything completed. And I mean, I understand that. That makes perfect sense.
Chief, would a third read beginning in November jeopardize that for him?
I don't know. You would have to ask him that. And the only reason I say that is because he'd be much more knowledgeable on how quickly he can get, you know, I don't know. I don't know.
Is it permissible to reorder the agenda?
Yes, the council does have that option. I would just say, if there's, I mean, I think there's a question from a council member about whether we ought to have a public hearing. I don't think there's any specific obligation for that with respect to this item, but there's a question from the clerk as well as to whether there was a first reading, and ordinances do have to be read by title at 2 meetings. So I think if there are practical matters related to the owner disposing of inventory, I would hope that the chief can work with them on that, and council can make sure to take care of any procedural requirements by holding another reading and vote on the ordinance at its subsequent meeting.
Okay, so we're talking about having one more reading. For today, I'd be most comfortable if we reordered the agenda so that we can hear whatever, whoever wants to come and speak at the public portion before we vote. And I don't know what my fellow council people think about that.
Second that. Yep, that's fine.
Okay, so just as an additional one time we had our agenda out of order and we were voting on something before there was a public portion, and it made me uncomfortable. So that would make me feel better about voting today if we just reordered the agenda and placed this right after the public portion.
Is that all you need? Any
So-
more questions?
Thank you. Did anyone else have any questions? I'm sorry, we didn't. Okay. So we're just going to, we're just gonna move right on to the public portion, and then we're gonna come back for the vote on this item.
Are we able to do that since there's already been motions made?
Pardon?
Are we able to do that since there's already been motions made? Have we already begun our vote?
So how would we do that? Would we just suspend an item, or what do we do to have a discussion of an item and then have a public portion and then go back and vote on it?
You might entertain a motion to defer consideration of that item until after council conducts the public portion of its meeting.
That would be lovely. Is there someone willing to make
A
that?
motion to defer discussion of the item until after the public portion.
I second.
Discussion in the vote. All right, we will discuss after. Let's have a vote on that. So we got it first and second. All in favor? Okay. So now we are to the public portion, which shall be subject to the rules established by council and adopted by resolution. Let's start with Deborah Gorday.
Good evening, council. And, we're gonna have to stop meeting like this. People wanna start talking. I hate when people start talking. I have two issues tonight. One deals with the police pay. Since last meeting, I have learned that a probationary officer starts out as $22.30. A mountain lion driver, if you've seen the big ad advertisement in the newspaper, starts out as $21.68. That's a difference of 62 cents. That is pathetic. That's not only pathetic, but that's sickening to know that a bus driver makes 62 cents less than a starting police officer with the Morgantown Police Department. In Weirton PD, their officers start out at $23 an hour, plus a $2,000 signing bonus, okay? There's no reason why in this city, with the user fee and the tax base that this city has, that police officers with the Morgantown Police Department cannot start out between $23 and $25 an hour. And you talk about recruitment. There's no way people don't want to come into law enforcement to begin with. They definitely are not going to apply at the Morgantown Police Department if council keeps taking away their benefits, which I know that is in litigation now, so I'm guessing negotiations are probably over with because it is in litigation. But it didn't have to come to litigation if the city would have sat down, with members of the department, which for some reason they couldn't because there's an officer that attended a council ward meeting and was told, keep your mouth shut, don't talk about it, okay? So there is a reason why officers in the department weren't going to talk to the city of Morgantown, okay? Also, the civilian employees, they were basically given a gag order not to discuss these issues, even among themselves. So, like I said, this is just sickening to know that a police officer starts out 62 cents less than a bus driver, a public transportation bus driver. The other part of this issue deals with the pension. Recently, I did attend the police pension board meeting, and my question to city council is, I know that officers now are paying 9.5 percent into the police pension. I'd like to know, is that a tit for tat with the city? It was whenever I was working, 7%, the city paid 7%. From my understanding, the pension board doesn't really know because the company just figures it out, sends the city a check, amount, and that's what the city puts into the police pension fund. So they don't know if it's a tit for tat, 9.5 for 9.5. I think the police pension board and the public, should be able to know that. Where not, it is a tit for tat. The other issue that I've come to speak to tonight is I just found out this information today before I came before the meeting. And that I'm really appalled and disheartened that I went on the Morgantown Police Department website to look up recent police press releases, and there are none. They haven't been any police report press releases since 2017, 5 years. So I called the communication department, and I spoke to Holly, and she informed me that this is the way Andrew, the last communication director, set it up, is that you have to have an email now in order to get the police press releases through an email. Well, to me, I'm just flabbergasted because that's not city government being transparent to the public. That's public information, press releases, and daily and weekly police reports, okay? I'm sure the average Joe doesn't know out here in the city of Morgantown that you have to send the city an email now in order to review police press releases. And like I said, they haven't been any police presses for 5 years. The last thing I'd like to say is that, to me, I believe the city is violating and hindering and hiding from the public press releases, and they're making it so much difficult in order to review them. The police department used to have a weekly crime report that they put on their website. It's not there anymore. As a member of the public, I would like to see that weekly crime report listed again so that the public is aware of what's going on in the city of Morgantown.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. David Weissman?
Hi, I'm David Wisman, head coach of the Mason-Dixon Junior Rifle Club. Thank you guys for the time here. I am here for the kids. I'm not here for an amusement park, so to speak, but I am here to speak on behalf of the kids. So, like I said, I'm the head coach of the Mason-Dixon Junior Rifle Club out of Morgantown. We currently practice our sport, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with WVU Rifle, 19-time national champion WVU Rifle team. Our club does the same sport. So we do an Olympic precision style rifle shooting using small bore 22s or air rifles. Our mission as a 501c3 nonprofit organization for juniors is to promote gun safety for these kids and to train them in a discipline that will allow them to potentially go further their education secondarily in the collegiate world and obtain academic and athletic scholarships. Over the last 5 years, we've graduated 7 alumni who have done just that. So we are a successful organization. We only have 18 juniors currently, but we are growing. Defense in Depth has given us a facility to allow us that growth. We currently shoot at that facility 3 days a week. Now, obviously, we do a sport that you don't want us at Bow Park doing, right? So we do need that facility, and unfortunately, the only facility around here would be the Defense in Depth facility. Our fear with this transfer is that we could potentially lose that facility. Again, we are a very, very small organization with a very minimal budget, and Defense in Depth allows us the use of that facility free of charge. With this transfer, we would hope that we would still be able to do that same function. We would hope that the City Council would allow our nonprofit in there to do that same community service with our juniors that we currently are able to do. If not, we are basically shutting the door on these kids and not giving them that opportunity that they currently have. So that's the main reason I wanted to come down here. I'm available for any questions concerning that, but ultimately the main point of this meeting was, or for me to be here was, I just need to let you guys understand that we desperately need that facility. There's no other facility in Morgantown area that we can use as an indoor range. We do have access to outdoor ranges, but that's gonna very much limit our potential with our juniors because that's only gonna be available for about 6 months of the year. So the Defense in Depth facility definitely gives us that 12-month a year ability to practice and train. And again, like I've said, we've been successful. We've gotten 7 kids to the collegiate level in the last 5 years. We'd like to continue to do that. So thank you all very much for your time, and I'd hope that you would consider the use of that facility for our organization going forward.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
So we're not limited by who signed up. That's the starting point. So yes, please, if you would like to come and speak. We encourage that.
Hello, I am Russell Purdom, and by the way, there are copies if you want them. Okay. And it does concern Defense in Depth, hot topic of the day, along with amusement parks. Great stuff. Okay, I'd like to thank the mayor, deputy mayor, and city council for allowing us to take the time to make public commentary. Yes, a public hearing on this would be a good thing. Okay, just to iron out some of the things Chief Powell alluded to. It does concern the Defense in Depth purchase. I'd like to preface my comments and questions with one of my core values. I believe that first responders, including law enforcement, should have the best training, equipment, and resources available to perform their duties. This includes having enough staff with fair and equitable pay, including overtime, for the services they provide. And that's a lot of topic discussion too outside this meeting. It is essential that we support our first responders and law enforcement since they put themselves at risk to safeguard the citizens of our community. We're the ones that are protected by them. They are the shield. Law enforcement deserves a place like Defense in Depth to train their staff, since they have nothing now, from what I understand. Okay. Although I'm not a resident of Morgantown, I am a resident of Monongalia County since 1982. Along with many Monongalia County residents, we have attended seminars and practice sessions at Defense in Depth. My concern about the city of Morgantown purchasing Defense in Depth is the loss of a superb training facility for the general public. Firearm owners had a place they could train and practice to enhance their ability to safely and responsibly handle their firearms. I believe it is the responsibility of every firearm owner, absolutely, to get the proper training and sufficient practice to ensure that they can safely and competently handle their weapons. Defense in Depth has provided these services to the firearm owners, shooting sports teams such as the Mason-Dixon Junior Rifle Club, great stuff, we know one of the members there, great team, and law enforcement without restriction to weather. This has been surely added to the community safety. My questions are these, and Chief Powell clarified a few of these. I think this is still in process of discussion. If and when the city of Morgantown purchases a facility, will it be for exclusive use of law enforcement? Next question, if owned by the city of Morgantown, will there be consideration given for the facility to be used by the general public, understanding this will be a pay-to-use program, maybe support the police department with some extra salary, okay, and the law enforcement would be the priority use of all time, at all times. Okay, if the facility were not available for use, will the city of Morgantown or Monongalia County provide a similar year-round use facility for firearms training and practice to ensure continuing firearms safety education, similar to what Defense in Depth has provided us? Okay, please understand there is no facility in Monongalia County or surrounding counties that provide a safe, controlled shooting range that has adequate ventilation supervision and is available for use in any weather. You may say, yes, ATR, Prickett's Force. That is true. Their ventilation system is not quite adequate. We'll leave that as it is. The shooting range is operated west at Peddler Village by the DNR, is not in use anymore, and will not be in use according to the District 1 office down in Farmington. They have no interest in having a shooting range in Monongalia County at all, even though I travel to Stonewall Jackson to shoot. I hope the city of Morgantown can understand the benefits and of defense in depth provided to the general public, and one that was not mentioned was the community's opportunity to interact with law enforcement during times we were both at the range practicing. It's invaluable to me, having time to talk with Monongalia County Sheriff's deputies that I shot with. It's always been enlightening and educational to be around them. I think it's a great service to the community to have that interaction, and I believe Chief Powell might even back that up. So we're removing a lot of things, and yes, we're adding positive things to the law enforcement, but you're removing other portions too. So please do a good risk analysis within your cost benefit analysis. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
More copies?
Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Yes, please. Yeah, this is our general portion, and it includes anyone wanting to speak on any subject.
Thank you. Jamie Summerlin, newly in-city resident, 209 Kingwood. Excited to be there. I'm actually going to speak on a few quick things. First off, I'm officially in the unofficial capacity as the community chair, or communications chair for the Greenmont Neighborhood Association. What's that, you may question? Well, the past 3 weeks, as we've been living in Greenmont, there has been every Monday night meetings at Jean's, over about 20 people that have been coming together talking about what we can do to make our community better. Last night there were 4 different committees that were separated and talked about beautification, ordinances, communications, events, all these different things. A lot of really cool stuff happening. Again, we've met the last 3 weeks. My wife and I have met some amazing neighbors and just generally good people in the Greenmont area, and we're thrilled to be a part of the downtown community. One of the things that I'm still trying to learn as we are in the area is figuring out where the boundaries and wards and all that are at and who actually represents what. I'm not sure, Councilor Harshberger or Kowecki, or where those lines are at, so I'm still trying to figure that out. But I would say that there's about 20 people right now that are very excited about the Greenmont neighborhood and want to see some change happen, and are really working to make that happen. So I would invite our representative to be there at Jean's this coming Monday, again, the 4th week in a row, but we are meeting again Monday night at 7 o'clock to have discussions about the haunt coming up in Greenmont, as well as the conversations that we are having about our community and the things that we are excited about making happen. GreenmontNeighbors.org actually went live last night. It is literally a placeholder with the sticker that was designed by Brian Pickens that we have there. We're going to be putting up a website that's going to have all of our events, all of the information about our board, all the people that are representing that community, and we're excited to start getting information out about that. Signage is coming as well. We're having some conversations with people about having some Welcome to Greenmont signs made, and figuring out, based on current city ordinances, where we can actually place those. So we will be having conversations about that here very soon as well. We want to create a vibrant neighborhood, build on the foundation of those that have worked hard in the past, especially being the oldest neighborhood in Morgantown, and building upon that and making it something that we can be very, very proud of, especially since it truly is a gateway into the city here. One of the things last night that was brought up was about getting the word out about what we're doing. Like I said, there's 20 excited people in that room wanting to make some things happen. We want to get the word out, but we have to have a consistent message and have a plan before we can actually do that. And once we have that together, I believe that we make the association something that people want to be a part of. People will be chomping at the bit to get their ideas out, and we can all work together to make that community even better. So again, GreenmontNeighbors.org, keep an eye on that website. It's going to have a lot more information other than just our sticker right now, but that's going to be going live here over the next couple of weeks. A couple other things mentioned tonight. So defense in depth. I'll speak on a personal note from that. We have used the facility for events for Operation Welcome Home over the past 5 years or so. An organization that I know you're all very familiar with, that I'm very passionate about, that's helped almost 700 veterans get back to full-time employment in North Central West Virginia, helping build that tax base that allows us to have the things that we have here, and of course our heroes being able to do what they do. We would love to be able to continue to use that facility in that capacity. We've done so on an annual basis, and it's certainly something that we would love to have a conversation about. Actually, my daughter and I played the last competition that happened there, and it's something for me that I love doing with her. It teaches her discipline. It gave her confidence. to be the strong young woman that she is, that I'm very proud of, and I know the other kids that have spoken as well tonight. The last thing I wanted to mention before I have to leave is Veterans Day Parade is happening November 10th. Veterans Day is November 11th this year, but Veterans Day Parade is on the 10th because Friday being a holiday, and it's WVU at Pitt playing that night, Oklahoma the next day. There's a lot of challenges in law enforcement coverage and all that, so November 10th, which is actually the Marine Corps' 247th birthday, Semper Fi, hoorah. That's going to be the day of the parade. Jeremy Leo from the VFW here locally and myself and others are working hard to put that together, so we wanted to make sure that was out and everybody was aware of that. Last year was a great Veterans Day parade. We want to make this even better, and we would invite the council to be a part of that as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're still in the public portion. Is there anyone else that's interested in speaking? Please.
This is very nervous here, but thank you. I wasn't planning on speaking.
Take a deep breath.
My name is Douglas Scare. I own a business in Morgantown, and I am a supporter of our police force. I think they do a fantastic job, and I understand that they're understaffed. As a business owner, that I have to have the basic questions because I read the news as we go and we hear what's going on. It was quite a surprise to me, and in disclosure, I am a member at Defense in Depth, to hear that this was going to move over to a city-ran property. And then as a business guy, I got to ask the dumb questions. It's 10 years that we're encumbering the city with taxes to buy this. Then we're going to man it, and we're going to take over this facility and actually run it. And in the modern world, we outsource a lot of those things. We allow the private industry in the area to do those things for us, to provide both public and municipal access to those things. And the back question that I had was, it's $250,000 a year over 10 years, $3 million. And my understanding is if you're a law enforcement officer or a first responder or just basic citizen, it's about $50 a month to be a member there. And it's very easy. They discount those for the veterans and things like that already. Are we paying as a city for services that we already have? If you do the math, let's say $50 a month, and we give every officer 100 officers, that's $5,000 a month. I do the math. It comes out way less than $3 million over 10 years. And we still have public access to it. And that was the first thing that came to my mind on that. The second question that I would have to ask is, why was this happening so fast? Now, I understand that it's a year. I heard about it last week. I heard about an anonymous donation to allow the bond to go through and things like this, and it was very shocking to the actual membership of Defense in Depth, law-abiding citizens, Second Amendment people, to actually hear this and have it taken, like Margaret said, it sounds like it's being bullied out of our way. It's news to us to hear that the owner wants to do it. Now, that's a business opportunity for him, and I get it. But as a membership or as a person, I'm not sure, after going through that confusing little section there, whether we're actually going to have any public hearings that'll allow members of Defense in Depth and members of the community to voice their opinions on this. Now, my opinion, I'm a businessman. I know it's a business decision, and obviously I support the police and their decision to improve the access to proper training for our first responders. But I would also ask the question of, why don't we have a vibrant and open public discussion on this in a timely manner that doesn't affect the ability for the city to get this at the price they want? But it is a $10 million facility being offered up for $3 million over 10 years. It seems like almost too good to be true, but I don't know. I just wanted to bring those up. As you make your decisions on this, and I know you're going to vote now and you're going to vote again, I guess, on the third one, just keep that in mind, that it affects, along with a lot of children in the area, a lot of business owners in the area, a lot of people in the area that have to defend themselves simply in a matter right now because we don't have a police force that's as vibrant as we'd like to have. And we need opportunities to be trained to defend ourselves. And there's simply no other place around like Defense in Depth for us as a private citizen to go about that properly. The last thing I'd like to do is have people go to a smaller store, just buy a weapon and not know how to use it. We went through in COVID, a lot of people bought weapons and they don't have the proper training to do that properly and to be safe in the community. This is a shining star in our state. I don't think it's anything else in the area that competes with it. It's open 12 months of the year, and our law enforcement and first responders already have the ability to go there. I think more public discussion on this should be done before we make a knee-jerk reaction. And I know it's 4 minutes. It went really quick, and thank you very much. Have a great day.
Appreciate you coming. All right, well, here we have a last call. Is there anyone else that's wishing to speak? All right, we're gonna close the public portion. And then we're gonna continue our discussion. So now we are on item A, consideration of approval of an ordinance authorizing the bill of sale, lease, promissory note, and security agreement for First Responder Training Center, and we're on our discussion item. I'm thinking that we should ask our police chief if he's willing to come up one more time just to talk about access, just to clarify if you're willing. You can also just defer and do that next time, but I think it would be useful to, if there's any kind of information. You did a really nice job of clarifying that there would continue to be access for various groups. I'm certain that we cannot provide access for everyone, because that's just gonna be difficult, but you had talked about trainings for the public, and you talked about having these program possibly have access.
Oh, yeah.
Subject to
Definitely. We want to maintain those
discussions.
relationships. So,
Yeah.
there's a lot at play when it comes to making those kinds of decisions on granting access. One of those things, I've actually today reached out to our insurance provider to find out how it might impact our coverage and what it might do and how that looks. I'm still waiting for him to call me back. So I don't know that. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into making those decisions, and we haven't really, at this phase, pre-purchase, we have not ironed out that specific detail as it stands. I think it would be prudent for us organizationally if we had a chance to sit down with current staff. And by the way, we are planning on retaining some of the current staff just to get an idea of their criteria, what their security measures were with respect to vetting and making sure that we maintain that level of security that is really important. Obviously, when you're talking about firearms, there is a level of security that needs to be maintained. So all of that are things that we're going to consider and we're going to look at. We're going to look at really close to the things that already are existing and those things that we can maintain and those things that we might be unable to maintain. And that'll just have to be something that we evaluate when the time becomes appropriate for us to evaluate it. Pre-purchases, I don't think.
It's not the time.
I can come up with a general operational plan, but it would be, it would be senseless to sit down and say this is exactly how this thing is going to operate from the get-go without having a knowledge of how it's already operating. So that's the one thing. I will say this: every recruiting branch of the armed services has contracts there. They're going to continue. We're going to continue with those things. Hazleton comes there. WVU-PD goes there. Banks, churches, they all are groups that maintain working contracts with this pre-existing organization. These are things we're going to do our best to maintain because it's a valuable thing to maintain them. So we recognize those things. So that, I know that doesn't directly speak to your question, but there's a lot that goes into making that decision that we haven't quite
Yeah, and
reached yet.
And we would not want to know how, or their criteria, or any of that. Just
Right.
that some of those, or, to your best of your ability, law enforcement and other organizations may
We're-
be able to fit into
I
the
will,
schedule.
I will tell you this.
Yes.
We're probably better at vetting people than Defense in Depth are at vetting people. We have some resources that they don't have with respect to knowing people's backgrounds and histories and things like that. That much I will tell you.
Well, and the other thing was that you had explained earlier, how this came to be, that this was not something that the city or that our police force
No, and
sought, that this was something that was
And-
an offer
and-
made by the owner that we appreciated, but is complicated for city to undertake something like this.
It is, and I also, out of respect to the business owner, I also want to make I want to make people understand that this is not something that we're just springing on people. There is actually a reason behind why people were not notified that this was going on as it was going on. This is a private company that has people that are working for them. It did not make sense to alarm them and concern them with the possibility of they're losing their jobs if it wasn't a reality or something that if it wasn't a certainty. So those are the reasons why, at the request of the owner, it was kept sort of behind closed doors with respect to the initial talks about it and planning about it. And it wasn't something that that I encouraged or that the city encouraged for it to be secretive, quote unquote. It was just something that he felt was a better approach, and I respected his opinion on that, and I tried to keep it as close knit as I could as far as who had knowledge of it.
Yeah, that's
And
wonderful.
it was
Does anybody else
intentional.
have any questions? And then you can sit down. You've done a great job of
Thanks.
explaining. I think everyone appreciates, we all share the appreciation of the vision of creating this facility and the fact that it was created. So that's at least one thing that we all share. Are there any comments or questions, or we're gonna have another, yeah.
I guess my question would be, why would we vote on this now and have a third reading instead of just following our normal protocol and having a public hearing and then the second reading? Can we not just move this to a future agenda? Do we have to vote on this now?
I don't think you have to vote on it now, but I think by voting on it now, you honor the fact that we've had this on the agenda and continue it on its way. What do you advise, or?
Well, Council, I know that you all considered this at your first October meeting. The city clerk, in response to Councilor Trumbull's question, asked whether council had before it an ordinance for that meeting. And as I said earlier, the requirement for adoption of an ordinance, which is necessary to authorize a lease, is that an ordinance be read by title at 2 meetings with at least 1 week intervening. Morgantown's charter requires 2 weeks intervening. I know that ordinance was before you, but to the extent there's any procedural question about whether it was, as raised by the clerk, you would need to have the ordinance read at 2 meetings and move it forward on those readings.
So this might be considered, this point, almost a first reading, and that the next meeting with the hearing would be the second reading?
Yes, Mayor.
All right. So if we would like to move this forward, this would not be the approval reading. This would be a first reading approval, kind of a second first reading approval, and then the next meeting, we would be having a public hearing, and then we would have a final reading that would be the final approval.
Okay.
So it's kind of like,
Chief Powell, please don't take this as a show of support or not support, but I think this is a nightmare and I can't vote for it at this time, even though I appreciated the tour and I am generally supportive. I would like to hear more from the public. As was referenced earlier, I have gotten a ton of comments about this, and even without a public hearing with the agenda saying first reading, people showed up to speak about it. So I would be much more comfortable just at our next reading advertising the public hearing, at which point I would be likely be in favor. But as of right now, I'm
so I guess because there were questions at the first reading, this is considered the proper first reading. So I would encourage that if people are in favor of this, you vote your conscience on it, but that if you are in favor of this, that we consider this a first reading as stated here, and that the next reading would have a public hearing and would be the final approval reading. So
I'm just confused because
I'm
with
just
Ryan. I know that I have seen the ordinance at a prior reading, so due to my confusion, I would.
That's fine.
I'll wait until the agenda says second reading.
But if under legal advice, we're considering this a first reading and this is not the final approval, if people are in favor of it, I would vote yes on it if that is your wish. Is there any other questions? So if we would call the roll on this first reading, and then that would be great.
Joe Buganim,
Yes.
Bill Kowacki,
Yes.
Ixia Vega,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Trumbull,
No.
Dave Harshbarger,
Yes.
Brian Butcher,
Yes.
Mayor Celine.
Yes. So this passes 6-1. And then we will make sure that we put this on the agenda for a final reading and a public hearing at our next meeting. We do not have any special committee reports. We do not have a consent agenda. We do have some new business items. Consideration of approval of a first reading of an ordinance amending Article 169 entitled Utility Board, and my understanding was that we were considering just taking no action on that at this time. Is that
Correct. Yep, my understanding.
yes?
No
All right.
action.
Okay. Do we need to vote on no action, or we can just have no action on an item? All right. Item B, consideration of approval of a bid award for City Hall. This is an exciting item. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. As City Council knows, this is an ongoing project that has been taking shape for a number of years to try to bring our current City Hall facility to proper standards and to make it more efficient and effective for staff use. The bids for this particular, and as you know, the funding for this particular project will come out of bond proceeds. The bids for this project were opened on October 10th. We had 3 bidders, and the lowest bidder was Commercial Bidders Incorporated at $2,952,900. The contract for this particular bid and this particular project would be for the renovation of City Hall at 389 Spruce Street. The renovations would occur on every level of that facility. The project would involve replacement of historic windows, and that's very, as you've heard before, very expensive proposition, trying to bring historic replacements to certain, especially exterior assets of that facility. the reconstruction of masonry parapet wall, demolition of internal systems, partitions and finishes, installation of new HVAC system, which we all appreciate, right? As we
If it works right.
exactly. And modification of the existing plumbing and electrical systems, and the installation of new petitions and finishes. I've asked our city engineer, Mr. Damian Davis, to if he'd be willing to be available to answer any specific questions council might have in the awarding of this. But it's our recommendation that this bid be awarded to Commercial Builders, Inc., in the amount of $2,952,900.
Do we have a?
Emily is raising her hand. You just can't see her.
I'll stay.
All right.
Make the motion.
I think there may have been a typo. The bids were opened on October 13th.
Ah.
Okay. Thank you.
Now you can talk to me.
Yeah, last Thursday. As you know, we're moved everybody out of City Hall and we're here. And I forgot that when I was coming here, I drove to City Hall. And so, and this is a great facility except this post right here. This is the most annoying thing in the world, is that post. But yes, this is a City Hall renovation project. We've been working on City Hall for a number of years, and most of the things we've done so far in City Hall are things that really needed done, but you don't see. And so this is our chance to do something with City Hall that you're actually in public's going to see. We've put a new roof on the building. We've fixed the sidewalk out front. We've fixed the facade of the building. All things that you wonder where you spent your money because everything looks exactly the same. But this one renovation will be a lot different. So we're going to be renovating every floor, the back parapet wall along the alleyway. There are a few things in this right now that aren't included in this project right now. We were trying to keep the scope within budget because everything's a lot more expensive nowadays. And I think we did a good job keeping to the budget. We are close to it. Things that aren't in this right now are the elevator renovation, which we can't add on. But we wanted to kind of see where we were at, get the most everything out the bid, see where we're at, and then maybe potentially add that on as a later date. That's something that can be done separate from the renovation itself. And we're also working on the renovations of council chambers themselves and how that's going to happen. That's not quite in this yet, but we're still working through that to see how that is. But everything else is really going to be renovated. The basement's going to be gutted. First floor, code enforcement, finance are going to be completely redone. Mezzanine level, aside from the council chambers themselves, that whole wing on the side is going to be redone, which will actually connect back through. The council chambers behind them won't be a dead end area now. That'll tie back through. And renovate the offices back there behind there for a space for council to have their executive sessions in. The third floor, or second floor really, is the floor that gets touched the least. A few more offices gets made out of some of the rooms, but mostly it's just cosmetic up there. But we're excited about the plans, how everything's laid out, and if council would like to see them, we can set a set of plans over at 4:30 that council can look at them at their leisure. So if you have any questions about it specifically, I'll answer them.
Yes.
Once the bid is awarded, what is the expected timeline for starting and then completing?
So we're looking at probably, once if council approves tonight, we will get with the contractor to start working on the contract documents. All their requirements in there. So it's probably about a month before they would actually start. And then we're looking at a 9-month construction period. So 10 months. we'll see, hopefully. And that, you know, there are a couple big items in there, like the HVAC stuff that currently, other projects we've had really long lead, you know, on those. But we've been working with manufacturers, so hopefully those things won't be so long. I think the construction itself can be done. It's just worrying about those items like that right now are having difficulty getting. So.
Gotcha.
But we're looking at, you know, probably 10 months. Any other?
Good question.
Yeah.
Is there any other checking out? What's flying behind? Hello. You're good? Okay.
We are excited.
I don't know that this is a question for Mr. Davis, but when we approved the bonding, we had general budgets for how much we thought each project was going to cost. What was the anticipated cost for City Hall?
This one, somewhere around $2.5 million. Yeah. And so we've you know, tried to keep close to that. And I think with at this number, we can do the project financially. We were a little worried with the first bid at 3.9, but
We're still worried about prices going up during that.
yeah. But we met with commercial after the bid opening, went over the scope of the work, went over their bid, and they have a good grasp of what the project is, and we really think they will do a good job, and they will keep the project on budget. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Move to approve.
Second.
Wonderful. Any other comments or questions? This is a great, worthwhile project because it will help both employees and the public to be able to enjoy our public space. All right, clerk, unless anybody has any other comments, if you would call the roll.
Yes. Joe Buganum?
Yes.
Bill Koecki?
Yes.
Yixia Vega?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Trumbull?
Yes.
Dave Harshbarger?
Yes.
Brian Butcher?
Yes.
Mayor Celine?
Yes. That passes. And now we're on to the final item, which is consideration of approval of a resolution on Amendment 2. And I don't know if...
Yeah, just a couple comments I would have. The county assessor certainly covered this really well and gave plenty of information. Just for your information, Emily and I have been working with the City Managers Association for the state and with the other city managers. And a great number of the municipalities that they represent are passing similar resolutions. So this is a resolution that's of concern by all municipalities in the state. The two issues that are of greatest concern for me and I think for our community is, number one, that it would place the control for personal property tax rates with the legislature, with no clear direction as to how that would be accomplished. And the second is, because of the limitations on the opportunities for municipalities to be able to fund their services, there's got to be some specific language that would give us some comfort that there's a replacement. There's some replacement funds in the event that they take this away, and that hasn't. The legislature just hasn't passed either of those tests. So, that's my report.
Excellent points. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second. Thank you. And then discussion.
I'm glad we're taking this up.
I second that.
Yes.
Yeah, you already did. She's seconding it again. I appreciate out of this resolution that at the beginning,
we're talking about the fact that the West Virginians are being asked to vote on Amendment 2, and that it's not our place to tell voters how to vote, but that we'd like to make sure that people have the information that they need about the impacts and the what could happen to public safety, local government, I would say schools, some huge impact, but that it is just this strange vote to give a future legislature the authority to exempt personal property and equipment. It's not, it doesn't, the public's not protected, their taxes are not protected, that they'll go in the manner that they have always gone in. It just changes authority for where those funds go to, and then it doesn't say what is gonna happen to them. It just passes authority to a future legislature, and I think that sounds like, from my personal point of view, like risky business. So, anyway, I'm supportive of this. Is there any other?
I just would thank Mr. Music. I had the opportunity to attend the county commission work session that he referenced during his correspondence. I was the city representative there, I suppose. And he has put a lot of work into educating people and, you know, not necessarily telling them how to vote, but giving them the information that they need. So I think he's doing a great job with that, and I'm glad he finally made it to our meeting.
Glad we invited him. All right, is there any other comments? All right, let's ask the clerk if she'd please call the roll.
Joe Buganim,
Yes?
Bill Koecki,
Yes.
Ixia Vega,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Trumbull,
Yes.
Dave Harshbarger,
Yes.
Brian Butcher,
Yes.
Mayor Celine.
Yes, passes unanimously. City Manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of items. I've been sending a lot of information to you. I hope you'll let me know if I'm sending too much. I'm trying to give you as much information as you would like to have, and if it's too much, you let me know. There have been some great meetings that we've had with business owners, with Main Street, Morgantown folks regarding improving the atmosphere for the downtown that would attract families and all kinds of activity to the downtown. As a result, and Emily and I were able to attend the National League of Cities, International City Managers Association and County Managers Association Conference. Sorry about that. It's not League of Cities and Towns. In Columbus, and one of the takeaways that I had was that we have a real asset here with WVU that in some ways we're not tapping into, and so I came away from that and started thinking. We started thinking about some ways that we could utilize the resources. I mean, the tremendous resources that the university has. One of the things that we're trying to deal with is the issue of how do we provide proper services for individuals who are homeless, that just are struggling. And we've been trying to hire a position that would help in that, but we're having a really difficult time doing that. One of the thoughts that came to our minds was the idea of utilizing the School of Social Work to help in that process. And so we're meeting with the School of Social Work tomorrow, see if we can't create a program that would not only help in being able to help these individuals access services that they desperately need, especially as the cold creeps in, but would also benefit the students as kind of an internship program. So that's one area that we're really focusing on. I'll tell you another that kind of came out of that was the idea that we needed to have a more formalized, regular leadership training program for our staff. And we kind of do it in bits and pieces, and it's not real formalized and real organized. And so we're developing a very robust, maybe is the right word for it, training program for our employees that will help them be able to move up, but also be able to do the job more effectively, particularly in the areas of management. And we're working with the university to help create that through their School of Management and several other colleges. One of the reasons I want to bring this up tonight is as you consider the needs of the community and as we go into annual planning, one of the things I'd like for us to consider is, as we develop those needs with City Council and staff, how can we maximize this great resource that we have in our community and utilize the programs that they have? Because I think they're more than willing and able to help us. We just need to ask the right questions, and so that's one. I hope council's supportive that direction that we're taking. The last item that I wanted to report is that we've been discussing contracts with Republic. I know there's some discussion about that. We expect that Republic will be on the agenda for presentation and be able to answer questions at one of our next committee of the whole, so that you'll have a chance to discuss concerns that you have, because there are plenty. But on the other hand, it is, I think, some of the concerns that we hear, and it's not as many as I heard when I first came here, by the way. When I first came, that December and January, I mean, every council meeting was full of discussions about how poor the service was. But I think that's gotten better, but I think there's a lot of improvement can be made. We're talking about kind of transferring to carts, that are wheeled carts, so that it's easier for our citizens to be able to wheel their trash in and out on trash days, and it'll also facilitate the actual disposal of trash. So we'll make that available for council review, and if you have questions, please write them down, and you'll have an opportunity to ask some detailed questions. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. So, report from the city clerk,
Yes, Mayor.
who has been working really hard lately. There's a lot going on.
It's Municipal Government Week, and yes, we have been doing lots of things and fun things, right? And really, one of the important things to take out of Municipal Government Week is educating our community. And so, Ms. Gourdet had a topic that she brought up today, and so I just want to share, and I've already emailed you. I'm not sure if you got that or not, but we have a handy tool on our website. And if you go to our website at morgantownwv.gov, and if you type in the search bar, notify me, depending on which browser you're looking at, if you look for a link that says email and text alerts and notifications, and you click on that. This is a handy tool for folks to become more aware about what's going on in our community. So if you scroll down, it says, please sign in to subscribe, unsubscribe, manage your subscription. It's pretty easy to sign up just with your email address. But if you scroll down, there are so many things that you can select to be notified by email or text. Agendas for all of our boards and commissions. And once those are posted on our website, you'll get a notification, however manner you wish to receive them, of that board or commission meeting agenda or minutes. There's an alert center that for emergency alerts, runway extension project alerts, go on down to bid postings, and they're all broken down into different departments. There's a calendar, government jobs, so any job that the city might be have open, you could select that to be notified. And then the last one is Newsflash. And there's city press releases, council connection, events, fire department, and police department. So if right across from police department, there is a link that says view previous messages. So if you select view previous messages, it will take you to all of the PD press releases. And there's quite a few. And I can see all the way back to July of 2020. So just so folks know, it's a good question that Ms. Gorday had, and know that you can reach out to the city clerk's office or any of our council members. If you have questions about what's going on in the city, we can help you find those the resources to get you the information that you need. So I just wanted to share that with everyone. Sometimes it's a good reminder to that you can do that. It's a handy tool, and when people are expecting them and they don't get them, it's also nice because they say, I didn't get a notification for the agenda, and it's good to know. And then I wanted to share that back in July, the Fire Civil Service Commission held their agility test for entry-level fire department. And as you know, we've talked about their agility test. It's pretty hard. And so when folks take that test, we lose a few candidates. But once they pass the agility, then they go on and they take the written test. The written was about 30 days later. So they take the written, and then they must pass it with a 70%. We lose folks there too. But I wanted to share that the Fire Civil Service Commission had their oral interviews, and we do have 12 very fine candidates that will be going through our HR and having some interviews to fill our open positions. So just wanted to share. It's a little long process, but we're getting there. And then lastly, the police department, the Police Civil Service Commission will be holding their written and agility exam this weekend. And so it is Tuesday night, but we're still taking applications. We'll never turn anyone away, but know that if there's someone out there that just can't do it this Saturday, we're holding testing almost 3 times a year now, whereas we used to do it only once a year. So reach out to the clerk's office and we can get you the information that you need. If you're interested in Saturday's test, I can give that to you, and then for in the future. And that concludes my report.
Wonderful. Report from the city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. I do not have a report this evening.
Thank you. Report from city council members. Let's start with Councilor Butcher. Sorry.
Switching it up.
I should give prior warning to be kind.
Yeah, let me pull. I usually have time.
Sorry.
It's okay.
If somebody else next to you wants to go while you pull
No,
it
that's
up.
okay. So I think, most significantly, I think we had a productive meeting last night. I don't know how much I can say about it and how much we've decided to say about it, but it was, I did feel like it was productive. Beyond that, last week I did meet with with Tom Bloom from the County Commission and the chief of the Star City Fire Department and Forrest from the EMS, and we just discussed the Bond Vista situation, response time related to that, and Response time from everything that we looked at was definitely within line of normal response time. It was quick. I believe it was like 8 minutes. We just discussed a few ways that we felt like we could work better together as like city and other volunteer fire departments that surround the area. I think it was mostly centered around just open lines of communication. They do have chiefs meetings, all of them together, and it sounds like they work well together. I think there might be like a higher perception of like animosity between departments in the community than actually exists. And so that was encouraging, honestly, to hear through them. And it sounds like they had some concrete ideas that they could take forward in terms of like just how to improve their departments in general. Really, we didn't spend too much time focused on like one particular issue. It was just a lot of ideas. And they did have some thoughts, and they were going to come probably present those maybe to city management and then to council about possible locations for hydrants that are towards the edge of the city that might help the various VFDs, even though they might, fall, closer to regulation. It may be helpful for them to have one that's closer outside.
No man's land.
Yeah, like closer out that way, and if there was something, and they said that they might have a something to present to us, just to say might make things a little easier, and if we would consider it. But yeah, I thought that was a great productive meeting as well. I also met with several members of the community last Thursday just to discuss ideas behind housing unsheltered people in hotels. We have a hotel secured. We're still working out intake for that particular piece of it. If anybody would like to help with like volunteering as far as like making food, we also are going to have like supply bags that we want to supply to people. Reach out to me and I can help you with that. But yeah, I think that just about sums everything up from the past week. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Parker.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. To our city clerk, I looked really hard for something pink to wear tonight in honor of National Breast Cancer Awareness, and my wife couldn't even help me out, so I tried. I thought we also had a great meeting with MUB last night, so I'm very optimistic. And I had a chance last Tuesday to do a pedestrian safety walk with the traffic, as part of a traffic commissioner's role with this WVU Student Government Association and some of their wellness safety folks, and we focused on the downtown campus. And the walk we did was from the Mountain Lair, Oglebay, across the Overwalk on University, and then around the old Stadium Loop Road, University, and up into Sunnyside. And one thing that really struck me, I was expecting to find opportunities to add safety, but what we found were that there were the rapid response beacon's been broken, and one side's been broken since summer, and the other side that's intact doesn't activate it. So that's been out, like, I think for a long time. And then as we came up into the beginning, or tail into Sunnyside, we tried to use a crosswalk button to cross towards Sunnyside to the first restaurant on the corner where University and Campus Drive are, and it didn't work. And then we looked across, and the crosswalk wasn't lining up with another opportunity for where a button should be. And so the student government folks are going to put together a report with this information to share, some of which is going to be DOH and some of which city. But it was rather eye-opening to see when you I think about frustration that I hear from motorists with interactions with pedestrians, being students crossing the road where they shouldn't. I can see why. We're teaching them not to use a crosswalk correctly by having as many out of order as we do. So I just wanted to report that and look forward to getting that report from the SGA and being able to share that with the appropriate folks. Thank you.
Nice. Deputy Mayor?
Thanks to the city clerk for addressing the Morgantown Police Department press releases. When Ms. Gourdet spoke, I thought it was weird that she said that there were no press releases for the last several years because I got one this morning. I am someone who has paid attention to city government for a long time, so I've been signed up for that. I guess I just take that for granted, and I don't know which other ways they normally go out, so something to look into maybe, but thank you for explaining how to find those. And thank you also for your work on Municipal Government Week. The mayor and I did a reading at the library last night, and I am going to participate in a high school mock city council meeting with Councilor Abu Ghanem later this week. So those kinds of things are fun and exciting to do, and those letters were super cute. Everyone wants amusement parks. I'll take it to Bow Park, I can't say. But the kids who wanted more playground equipment, that I can do. We're working on that. 3 of them are being done right now, like this week and next week and in the coming times. Yeah, I had on here to talk about our MUB meeting. We had a very productive meeting, a lot of great discourse back and forth. We have some action items we're going to work on moving forward, so I'm sure we'll be hearing more about that later, but I think we've come to some consensus on things, and that's a good place to be. And other than that, the Woodburn Association of Neighbors meets tomorrow at 7 p.m. at the Woodburn Community Complex. And if you haven't been by there lately, I highly recommend going and taking a walk around back, because the mural that's been in progress for the last several months is finished and in place, and it looks really great. So make sure you stop by and see it.
Nice. Councilor Vega.
So I work in politics, so this month has been very busy with the election coming up, and I feel like I didn't do much, but I'm looking at this list, and there was a lot of stuff going on. Specifically on the 8th, there was a lot going on the 8th. But first I want to thank the folks at Bow Park for taking me and a couple of other folks on a tour of the Old Weil Hill School. There was a couple of concerns from folks in the 3rd Ward about the building, making sure that its historical integrity remains intact, a couple of questions of how the build is going. So it was really great to go through it, see exactly what's going on, and I can assure folks that Bow Park is doing their very, very best and doing a very good job at making sure that the things that don't need to be up to code remain the same, and that we keep the aesthetic of the building as well. So I wanted to thank Bow Park for that. That was really great. And I also invite folks of the 3rd Ward that if they have any specific questions, y'all are invited to go inside, take a tour, ask any questions that you want. And updates on the park are also posted on the Bow Park website. On the 8th, I was happy to attend 2 events in Morgantown. One of them was the International Street Festival with Sister Cities. That was a lot of fun. It was great to see a lot of folks there. We had a lot of questions about Sister Cities, so it was really great to see everybody's involvement. There was a lot of yummy food, so I was appreciative of that as well. On Saturday, there was also an event at the Met for monarch butterflies, since we are now a monarch city. That one, I will tell you, was one of the cutest events I have been to in a really long time. They had little headbands with where kids can make antennas with them, so I thought that it was really cool. They had a mural that was painted by some of the elementary school kids describing how a butterfly or monarch butterfly comes to be. So I love seeing that stuff, love seeing all the kids there, so it was really great to go. And besides that, my only other comment is to vote no on Amendment 2 and Amendment 4. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Very good. Thank you. This past Sunday, we did the historic walking tour of South Park. It was well attended and very interesting, and it's nice to see that there are still people there in South Park renovating some of the older houses. We had a tour of the Rumsey House on Park by the people who are the current owners and who are doing a wonderful job of restoration. There was a donation asked for that was contributed to the United Fund. So again, it was well attended and just pleasant to see that our community is still being taken care of. The other thing I would say is that I'm glad to see that Greenmont is up and running again and being so active. They have always been a contributor to our neighborhood, adjacent to South Park and just over the line now from my ward boundary. But I have in the past attended their meetings, and I will be happy to attend their meetings and collaborate with them as we go along. So Dave, if you need somebody to fill in or just tag along, I'll meet you at Jean's. The last thing I have is I see that the Municipal League is asking for information on our B&O. They're doing a survey. I think that's part of the idea of what cities do in order to fund themselves. I trust that we are, oh good, thank you. It came to me and I didn't know how to respond, and I figured this was a very opportune time to just double check. Other than that, I have nothing else. Thank you.
All right.
Councilor Obama, you did not have to go first.
I know.
And
I was ready, actually. I got ready to talk, and then
Whoops.
and then I looked up and over, and I peeked, and I was like, oh,
Didn't
okay.
read the signs right today.
First Ward Neighborhood Meeting will be next Monday at MTech at 6 p.m. In addition to speaking of First Ward, for Halloween, we've been granted the opportunity to have Madigan Avenue shut down, so it makes it more walkable to those with strollers and little kids, a little safer. Legend has it there will be a pirate ship with King Triton from The Little Mermaid. I don't know. Just do with that what you will.
Hopefully there'll be photos.
Well, naturally. For $5 each. MHS Homecoming Parade this Thursday. Plan your traffic pattern accordingly. Speaking of Morgantown High, this Thursday morning, thanks to Miss Wade for encouraging me. I will be taking a handful of students to the city courthouse to run a mock city council meeting in the name of Municipal Week. And they will be given 3 completely made up ordinances. Again, I must stress, these are not real. They are not actual city ordinances to discuss and vote on. And as a citizen, along with my friend, Citizen Trumbull, we will make sure to express our concerns to those students in regards to the ordinance that they will be voting on. And I also would like to reiterate, please vote no on Amendments 2 and Amendments 4. As an educator, again, please vote no on 2 and 4. And that's it. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Also, oh, I'm sorry. Everybody's also invited. Just to be clear, everyone is invited to our mock city council drive.
Send an email when it is.
All right. 9:30 a.m. Thursday.
Awesome.
Nice. All right. So I wanted to make a comment about last Friday. So last Friday, there were so many things going on Friday evening. There was some really cool stuff going on Pleasant Street that I didn't make it to. I did make it to the Arts Walk, but spent a little too much time on Walnut Street, so I didn't quite make it down to Pleasant because there was a community choir event going on at St. Mary's, and my husband happens to sing in the community choir, which is actually sponsored by WVU. So it's kind of fun how many different things around here all kind of wharf and meld together. But anyway, there was lovely choir at St. Mary's, which obviously is a community collaboration because it was a university choir in a Star City church. And also, just mixed in there, it was the big first night of basketball where people can become familiar and see some scrimmaging going on at the Coliseum. So while I was walking one way to St. Mary's Church, people in my neighborhood were all walking through, and it was super fun to see all the items that they had in their clear bag to go into the Coliseum, and some little girls discussing individual players with someone else from another family who was walking by, and they were all going to end up at the Coliseum, that family and another family and a single person walking by, they were all going to end up at the Coliseum. So, and seeing everyone parking. So it's I'd say Morgantown is quite a lively place. And I super appreciate that. With all the talk of the roller coasters, I always think that we should be Transportation City USA, but we should make it fun. So we should have more like some inclines or some chair lifts or some streetcars, or because we have this topography, and often you can walk from one place to another, but it sure would be nice to have a boost to get up some of the individual hills, like between the end of Grant and the top of Evansdale campus, and South Park from the bottom to the top, Marilla Center, and then up into South Hills. And just seems like there's so many places that just a little boost would really give people help. Well, why couldn't we have roller coasters that would achieve that? There's a lot we can do, and I'm not just saying that tongue in cheek, because I think we have an excellent engineering department, and at the university and the city and a lot of other entities in town that could kind of work together on making Morgantown that little bit more interesting and accessible for everyone. I also attended the safety walk, but I didn't do the downtown safety walk. I do the one in Evansdale, and I just caught the end of it because I was participating in something else. But they are bringing that document to us because they do that safety walk every year, but it doesn't really do as much if it doesn't get to the people who could make the right changes. Mm-hmm. So I really appreciate the students being willing to divide their walk into which entity could make an impact, and kind of giving out the whole list to everyone so you can see what all needs doing, but you can see your portion and understand that that's where you could really have a good impact. As we've gone about our week of activities this week and the last several months, I think what's been going on from my one person's point of view is that we seem to be having a lot of changes and transitions, and they have to do with working in the downtown, working with other agencies, working among employees and other entities, and every day people talk about the positive sides of those issues. Even when we're talking about defense in depth, people talk about how wonderful this business is, and then as there's a change, it takes a lot of effort. So it takes planning, takes listening, takes having people bother to gather the information that's needed, figuring out funding for things, figuring out how to adjust as we make some of these changes, and just understanding that change is really hard, that when you come out the other side, you can end up with something really good, something mediocre, something that needs adjustment. And so I just appreciate everyone in this room, and how hard it is, and how we can work together to figure out how to make a positive impact in our community. So anyway, that's what I have for this evening. And I have a card that's being passed around. Yep. And that can just come back over here at some point. So I would propose we do not have any executive sessions for this evening? If anyone's interested in adjournment,
Move to adjourn?
that would be really appreciated.
Second.
All right, let's do it. We're done. Thank you.
I'm so hungry.